Mr. 96's Pop Reviews. My name is Mr. 96. With every November comes my annual corrections video where I look back at all the times I fucked up over the last year. And this past year, I screwed up a lot. In fact, I've been screwing up for the last several years. Dating back to my 2019 best list, I had a random quotation mark near the start of the word speedometer in my ending credits, which shouldn't have been there, and I failed to fix it for an entire 2 years as it stayed there up to my 2021 worst list. How the hell did I not catch that typo for 2 years, especially when I edit the credits every single episode? Speaking of which, I recently discovered that I made an error over 3 years ago in my Sorry Sorry review in which I also forgot to update the credits. You see, I was supposed to list Award Tour by A Tribe Called Quest, but I forgot to change the credits from the previous video which listed Thank You Next by Ariana Grande. But enough about long-term errors, let's talk about terrible opinions I should have immediately realized at the time. In my worst list last year, I fucked up again by putting Fancy Like by Walker Hayes ahead of Am I the Only One by Aaron Lewis. At the time, I was in ultimate cringe mode whenever I listened to Fancy Like, so I wanted it to be my number one because it was more stupid and easy to clown on. My reasoning was that Aaron Lewis's song was political, so I didn't want to go on a political rant for my number one. But in hindsight, deciding my rankings based on entertainment value was a stupid idea because Am I the Only One is way more indefensible. Let's call it what it is. It's a racist song by a stupid man who made bad music in his nu metal days. Look, I still think Fancy Like sucks and deserves the 0 out of 10 rating I gave it, but who is it offending? No one except maybe the CBS crew during halftime of the AFC Championship. But should it have been number one on my worst list over an actual harmful song? No, that was a mistake on my end. Anyways, with that heavy stuff out of the way, let's move on to the more dumbass errors I made. Back in my 2021 best list, I said that Love Again was a bigger hit in the UK than in the US, but it turns out that wasn't true at all. I guess I just confused its charting numbers with Physical, which was a hit in the UK, so I was under the impression that all of Dua Lipa's singles charted in her home country. But nope, it turns out even the Brits slept on this fantastic song as well. The fuck is wrong with you people? Speaking of other egregious errors, I made a terrible typo in my first video of this year. In my top 5 most average hit songs of 2021 video, I forgot to change the in-video logo from 2020 to 2021. Considering I only make those videos once a year, that is pure laziness from me, and unfortunately, I caught the error too late to take the video down. But visual errors were not the only boo-boos I made in 2022. I even forgot to turn up the volume for part of my first class review. Nostalgia can be a weird thing. Take a listen. For some reason, I accidentally turned down the volume as if I was speaking over that section even though I wasn't. Yet I didn't even notice the audio difference when I did my final run-through. This year has been a complete wreck for me in terms of my content mistakes, but that's not the only issue I had. 2022 was a terrible year in my personal life for reasons I don't have time to get into. Regardless, music and YouTube honestly felt secondary to where I couldn't fully go through with my plans for the year. I had planned for 2000s childhood pop to get a major focus this year, but due to me taking forever to write my In the End review, I was only able to make 2 episodes in this series for the 3rd consecutive year. By the time this year ends, I will have only made 1 more video in 2022 than in 2021, which is not the massive improvement I was looking for. It doesn't help that my year started with me catching COVID. In many ways, the first class review was my extra video by comparison, yet even that is tainted by the fact that my rating of 8 out of 10 in that video has not held up at all. I mentioned during my anniversary video that I'm gonna stop using the 96 scale for song reviews, and that's a decision I'm content with. With opinions bound to change all the time, quantifying a subjective feeling feels pointless, and the first class review showed why. So yeah, a lot has happened to me this year. Does that mean 2023 will be the real redemption? I don't know, but what I do know is that 2000s music is where my passion lies. I honestly have not been keeping up with 2022's music all that much, so whatever major trends there were this year, they haven't really affected me. Plus, there's another 2000s video that I've been wanting to do for a couple years, so I want to move on to that eventually. Regardless, I'd like to thank my patrons on Patreon for all the support they've given these last 2 years. For just $1 per video, you can join my patron-only Discord server where we chat and chill, and at $2 per video, you get to vote on what songs I review for my series 2000s Childhood Pop. At $5 per video, you get to be listed in my Names of Fame, and at $10 per video, you get a personal shout through the heart along with Jason Semler and Prideful Zella. Once again, I'm Mr. 96. If you want to see more pop reviews, click the subscribe button below and tap that bell to be notified when I drop a new episode. With my corrections out of the way, I'm ready to move on to my worst and best list to get this year over with. Pop songs may come in numbers, but there's only one. 96.
너의 그 말, 그 잔인한 말, 가슴 아픈 말, 칼날 같은 말. 너의 그 말, 그 잔인한 말, 날 울리는 말, 날 죽이는 말. Everybody breaking me.